Hey, 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 welcome to Conversations with Robin. Conversations that empower, inspire, and enlighten. Every week, we have different guests on our show where we understand how did they become the person that they are today. So sit back, relax as we deep dive and enjoy the ride. Today, I have Heather Mitchell on Conversations with Robin. Welcome, Heather. It is a pleasure. This has been a long time in the making, and I'm so excited that you are here.
Thanks, Robin. I'm delighted that we finally got to speak.
Yes. Heather Mitchell is a holistic money mentor and co-founder of Finding Equilibrium, combining insights from human behavioral research, quantum physics, and portfolio investing. Heather helps clients shrug off unhelpful beliefs and traumas around money to build a life of abundance across the 5 pillars of the Finding Equilibrium model. She runs the foundation of Financial Freedom Group Mentoring Program. Heather, your bio is like very extensive.
Yes.
So what exactly is a holistic money mentor?
Yes, holistic money mentor really helps people to see money in a different way. I think we all kind of want it for various reasons. Even Elon Musk seems to want more. So it's kind of a ubiquitous thing. So it's really I've been studying it over the years, just due to my kind of research. I've been a researcher as a profession, but also in my nature, I just love to study people and study things. And so that's been one of my pet topics. So just really finding out how to sort of make more money and also specifically how to do it passively, because I think a lot of people teach people how to make money, but it isn't really passive. It actually involves quite a lot of time investment. And when you're working anywhere, you might have a business or you might be in employment, so you don't have a great deal of time to sort of invest in it. So I've been really searching and investigating different ways that you can make it without having to put too much time into it, and sometimes not any time at all. You just set it up and just kind of let it run. So these are the things that really appeal to me. So it's really helping people on a number of levels, but really ultimately helping people to get that life of freedom, but also just to get rid of all those blocks and things, because a lot of times we stand in our own way. So just really helping people to understand and that shrug off those things and free people up to actually maximize their life and make people as well as possible, because ultimately I think about money in terms of well-being rather than just money for money's sake.
I love that you mentioned earning passive income, because there is a difference between actively earning money when you have to work towards earning it versus just setting up a business and having some kind of business or service that money just comes to you while you're sleeping and you're just making it. So I think that's amazing. You mentioned traumas and blockages due to having money. How does that work in our bodies? Like, how is that attached? Or how does having traumas or blockages affect making money?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we all have traumas around money. And I think sometimes it just goes completely unnoticed because it's just so part of who we are. We don't even realize it's actually happening.
Mm.
So it could be our own traumas from things that have happened to us or among people that we've grown up with, maybe our family members and things. But it also could actually go back further than that in terms of our ancestry and all the things that we kind of carry around with us. It sort of sits with us in our actual cells. And it affects us deeply. So it's like almost we get triggered. It's almost like something happens that we have to make, particularly during those moments where we have to make decisions, particularly financial decisions. And sometimes it can just be so traumatic just to, do I press go? Do I do it? Do I do it? And it often is triggering us into something that has happened in the past where maybe it didn't go as well, or as I said, maybe it was something that our ancestors did and it didn't go as well. So it's like you're battling against all these different things. So just trying to free yourself up, if we can heal those traumas once and for all, then making those decisions isn't nearly as hard. You can just look at it as it, in its own entirety, and just look at it as a more of a project, rather than it being so tied up in our own stuff.
Yes. Do you believe that money has energy?
I do. I mean, I think everything is energy.
Right.
Literally everything we see, everything we feel, just the whole universe is made up of energy. That's kind of almost like the raw material. So finding ways to energize yourself, I mean, that's another thing, because it's kind of, it's very, what I teach is very broad based. So I teach very practical stuff, like how do you actually make money, but I also think about how to attract money, how to make yourself attracted to buy much, attractive to money, and how to make money want you. So it's kind of, the more you can get into that state where money is naturally attracted to you, the easier life becomes, because you just get into the wavelength and tune into that whole abundance mindset, and just life becomes more flowy, it becomes more ease, it becomes more joy. And that's what I aim for everyone that I talk to. It's just trying to help them to stop with that anxiety and stress and pushing, because when you try and push, you're pushing against something, and that's kind of resistance. But when you just relax and flow into it, when that happened, like those times when you just forget it, and then the very thing you wanted just suddenly drops into your lap.
Letting go.
Yes, it's because it's resistance is where we get all the problems.
Like letting go of that control, of that fear, and of that anxiety, like you said. And then it's like the universe just sends things to you when you learn to let go.
I think that's it, because it's like what you focus on, you attract.
Yes.
So if you're just worrying, then you're actually focusing on the things that you don't want rather than the thing that you do want. So it's trying to sort of train yourself to just do the opposite.
Yeah. Which I would think, especially in the beginning, when someone is with what you do with teaching and training other people, like in the beginning, I would think it would be kind of hard to shift your mindset and perspective towards money from fear to maybe love, and and bringing it in that way. Do you find your clients being very anxious at first and being very fearful?
Absolutely. There's a lifetime of stuff that's gone on that has to be unwound. So there is definite that fear, and almost sometimes it's just despair, like what's the point, like this is never going to get better. So it's just trying to give people some strength and some positivity and encouragement that they are much more powerful than they ever believed. I think it's very, very easy to play small. I think the whole education system, like everything is geared to make you feel like you can't do anything. It's like almost like at school we're filled with maths and science and all left brain, filling our minds up, and not focusing at all on the spiritual side, like what you are capable of, how much more depth you have, how you're a spiritual being, all of the things that we can actually do, the big things, that is completely ignored and completely downplayed. So we're just left thinking that we're just this brain on legs walking around trying to sort of think our way into everything, and that leads to misery and lots of dead ends. Whereas if we can try and get more balance, and my brand is finding equilibrium, so it's all about trying to get that balance between, yes, of course thinking is good, but too much thinking is not good, and it's just trying to get that balance between having that holistic way of thinking about things.
Right. I'm happy that you brung that up. My next question is, what is finding equilibrium?
Well, we have a model called the Finding Equilibrium model, and it's really a holistic view of life in general. So you have your physical well-being. So you walk around in your body. This is our shell that we actually interact with the world in. So it's important to keep that healthy, to do all the daily activities that give us, our bodies, the ability to do everything else. So it's really important to get the sleep right, and the physical, the food, and all of the things that is important. And then you've got your mindset, and making sure, and obviously the exercise as well comes into that, but also the mindset. That's very, very key to having a happy life, and everything interacts with everything else. You've got your body, your mind, then you've got your connection with yourself, with other people, with the world around you, and just your purpose in life. So that's another aspect of life. Then you've got your money, which is obviously the thing that I specialize in. And then you've got your time, which is so valuable. It's one of the most valuable things of all. You can't get that back. So the interplay between all of those different elements. So you've got it's like within itself. So you can be too much focus on money, you can be too little focus. So it's trying to get the balance on its own, but also the balance across all the elements, and ultimately, feeling a position of joy, and everything, anything can take us off balance, and it's having that toolbox of things that can get us back into balance really quickly, because life, there's always going to throw us something, we're always going to have to deal with something, but it's having the tools at your disposal to quickly get yourself back into balance and back into equilibrium.
Yes, it all begins with perspective. It all acts as a whole. I love how you involve the physical, the mind, the soul, the purpose, everything, because it all acts as one. And I feel like when we are off balance with one thing, it throws everything off.
Exactly. Everything interplays everything else. So with my thing on money, you can have all the meditation you want, but if you're staying up at night worrying about how to pay your bills,
Yes.
then you can't be fully zen-like. So it's everything affects everything else.
Yeah. What are some of the signs someone may have an unhealthy relationship with money?
I think quite often you can tell when there's like a ceiling. It's like you just get to a point where your bank account never goes over a certain amount. It's like it refuses to go. It's like frustrating. You think you're getting somewhere, then it goes. Then this big bill comes in, and it's just like, why can I never get ahead? Why is it always circling back all the time? It's quite indicative. It's like, oh, this sudden bill, and it's interesting because there's a stat which is 40% of Americans cannot pay a $400 bill, emergency bill, if it comes in. And it's like, wow, 40%, almost half of the whole population. This is where we got ourselves into. People don't tend to prioritize money. It tends to go into the too hard basket. And when that happens, it's like, okay, I'll just kick that down the road for another time. It's just too difficult. And so if you don't prioritize it, there's so many other things, because they're so busy. There's things coming in all the time, paperwork and this and that, and work and stress, and all the time there's things coming in. And then we've got our social media as well, which kind of adds in as well. It's like taking up the very little time that we do have. And so unless you make a priority to actually deal with your money, you're not going to, and it just keeps, like, time just goes and goes and goes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could have done it in the first place, and let that lovely, beautiful compound growth happen, then you can do all the other things, and it happens in the background, and that enables you to do all the other things. So if where you live and all the activities that you do and all the other things in the Finding Equilibrium model you get to do, because you've actually taken care of the money side of things, and it enables everything else. The quality of the food that you eat and the time that you have to spend with family and all the other stuff, it kind of all balances out. So that is a very, very important component of it all.
Yeah. It sounds like you basically have to deal with it when it comes up. Are being more proactive about it too, and not pushing it to the side and saying, okay, I'll deal with it when that time comes, but just be proactive about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, not being obsessive. I mean, there's obviously like that balance, because if you go too far, then you become miserly and just obsessive. and that's not healthy either.
Yes.
But if you don't deal with it at all, then you're just putting your head in the sand, and then it will only come back to bite you later. So it's just trying to make sure that you deal with things. There's a Chinese saying that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. So if you just getting on with it, you just kind of deal with it and then moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does having a background like yours in human behavioral research, quantum physics, and portfolio investing help someone change their energy with money? Because you have such an extensive background. Like, how does that all come into play?
Well, it was, I suppose it was all the kind of the universe coming together, really. Just all of those elements helped me to understand people, because that's what interests me, is how people behave. Like, why do people do that? Why do people act the way they do? Why do people do things that are sometimes detrimental to themselves? It's like a curious thing. Why would we self-sabotage? Why would we stand in our own way? Why would we do those things? It's just, it's mysterious. Like, you don't see animals in the wild deliberately putting themselves in danger, for example, but for
Like
some
as
reason,
humans.
yeah, we're just complex creatures, that's fascinating, isn't it? So just really trying to sort of pinpoint that, unpick it, and just kind of go, isn't that interesting? Why do we do that? And helping us understand that, there was so much more going underneath. There's all these kind of other, the traumas and the different things. It's just so much more than meets the eye, and just bringing it. So when I bringing in those things, it's like the researcher in me kind of goes, well, what do we do about it? It's like, it's curious, it's interesting. So how do we tackle this? How do we move forward from this? So that's where the study in quantum physics and all the other things that I've studied, I've got NLP and all of the other things, is trying to understand how to shake those things off and actually get to do something, to actually move in a direction we want to go in. Because it's just, otherwise it's frustrating. It's like spinning your wheels but getting nowhere.
Yes.
Very frustrating. So it's just trying to, so I've been studying how to move. So it's, what is it? It's not one thing. That's the thing. It's
Right.
not one thing. It's bringing all these elements in and having them all work together. Ultimately is to bring all the pieces together and have them interplay with each other to get this cumulative effect, this explosive effect, to actually get where you want to go. So that's kind of the study and the work that I've been doing, is working out all the pieces that need to be in place.
Yeah.
And it's not like major things, but it's just putting the elements around and thinking about the energies, not forgetting that we are energetic beings. So making sure that we actually deal with the energetic side as well as the practical side. It's like everything, the psychology, why is it that 70% of jackpot winners have lost everything within 2 years? Like, isn't that a crazy stat?
Yes.
Like, why is that? What's going on?
Yes.
That's, to me, that's all about self-worth and whether I feel I deserve that money. No one teaches you how to deal with all that money. So getting that piece right, getting that inner piece right, directing it inward to actually understand ourselves and work out, are we deserving, and how to feel that way, how to feel abundant in ourselves and attractive and worthy of a wealthy life. So it's taking all those elements, inside, outside, around,
Yes.
and just
Acting
putting
as
it
a
into
whole. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it sounds like the work that you're doing, you're really like delving into it too, and with research and quantum physics, and like you said, NLP and all that involvement in helping people shift their mindset with money. That's amazing, Heather. I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Robin.
What?
It's very interesting and exciting.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
It's interesting and exciting, and I really feel like I deeply help people. You can see
Yeah.
that transformation happen. It's really exciting.
How long would you say does it take for the transformation to begin? with your
So
client?
my program is 8 weeks. So that's kind of the starting point where we kind of delve into all these different areas and just build one on top of the other. So that's definitely where it all starts. And, definitely by that time, there's a big shift. I think one of the things that happens is that it's almost like a new you emerges. It's like a whole manifestation of a different person that feels worthy, and all of those kind of things, all those things that have been holding us back has shaken off. So you kind of emerge as a different person, as a person who has all those things. So I think that's one thing that happens, is that it's not just about money ultimately. I mean, money is a useful tool to help that happen, but it sort of has a knock-on effect to everything else. So other things in life also get better, because if you're working with yourself,
Yes.
then it has a knock-on effect with everything else as well, relationships and all the rest of it. So yeah, it depends how much time then after that people devote to it, to how successful they are, but there's definitely a major shift in those 8 weeks. And just knowing and having a blueprint to having financial freedom. So it's kind of the self part, and then there's the practical side of actually knowing how to invest and how to build a portfolio of passive income, almost like machines. I've got, and it's very exciting. Like, there's so many different modern, we live in a technological age, which is so exciting, because the tools that were not kind of not available to us before are now available to everybody. If you've got a computer and access to the internet, that means that we have all the same tools that all these Wall Street traders have. We can do all the same things that they do. It's incredible. So we can do trading, we can use AI bots to trade for us. We can copy really good, excellent traders that are doing it themselves. So we don't have to have the knowledge.
Yeah.
We can.
Especially if the AI robots are doing it too. Isn't that crazy? How far we have come.
I know, it's amazing. And like, everyone talks about Chat GPT, which is great, and they can do all the copy, but there are actually things that can actually physically make us money. Like, wow, what a world we live in, that's the case. So that is true passive income. And of course, I've looked into it very deeply, and I've got lots of things working in the background myself, and like, not all of them are, some of them aren't very good. It's not like you can just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and then just pick one and it does it. So there's a lot of kind of work to actually investigate it, but that's kind of what I'm also doing, is like trying to find the good ones.
Yes, trial and error.
Yeah, it is. It's so much.
Crazy how technology has really progressed over just even like the minimum of 5 years. Not even,
Absolutely. So it's amazing. Like, what's so incredible is the fact that these high frequency and AI investing has started around the 80s. Actually, all the people in Wall Street were actually using it then. So it's taken quite a few years before we, the people, actually get to use it. But finally, we actually get access to the same sort of. I'm sure there's probably a lot better.
Yeah.
But at least we do have access to these things, which we never did before. So I feel it's really empowering and really exciting, and like, the potential is incredible, really.
Yeah. Wow. I had no idea. Since the 80s, they've already been using. Wow. So can you imagine what they use now? I can't even
No, exactly. So we wouldn't be having access to those things, clearly, but it still is something, and it still is empowering, because before that, it's like, you have to sort of work it out yourself, whereas there are very clever people that can work out, they know how trading works, and they know how to program the algorithms, because it's down to a set of parameters. And so if you teach the algorithm to look out for these certain parameters, then they can do it for you. You know, you don't have to be just staring at the charts and working out yourself. So then it becomes a job of finding the best spots as opposed to learning how to actually do the actual trading, which is quite interesting. It's like a different skill set.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Well, how did you come into portfolio investing and what exactly is it?
Portfolio investing is basically investing in a series of things that ultimately makes you money, either through growing in value. So you buy something at this price and then it's worth that price later down the line, or it earns you money, so you just actually get income from it, or both. So there's like different kind of things, but ultimately having a portfolio means that you've got a whole set of things that are working for you. Because if you just invest in one thing, a lot of people invest in their jobs, for example, which is ultimately an investment, even though they don't see it that way, but that's investing in one thing. But whatever, if you ever invest in one thing, it could go really well and that would be amazing, but it's a lot of risk, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, then if that basket doesn't turn out to be that great, then you haven't got anything else to fall back on. So having a portfolio means that you have, if you know, and especially a certain type of portfolio that is kind of dealing with risk and making sure it's kind of balancing risk out, then it means that if a couple of things or one thing is going down, the other things are going up. So you're mitigating that risk and you're putting the odds in your favor. So that's what having a portfolio does, is it gives you the choice. It gives you more outlets because you have more choices and you can protect yourself more.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that. Do you believe someone can become wealthy by investing in stocks and cryptocurrencies? I know you have a background in investing in stocks and cryptocurrency. So do you believe that someone can become wealthy from doing that?
Of course, absolutely. I mean, look at Warren Buffett. You know, he invested just in stocks, and you know, look, he's a multi-billionaire. So, of course, I mean, there's lots of examples where that isn't the case, right? So it's not obviously just put it in and it just tick that box, you know, and it's like, yeah, I'm investing in stocks, investing in crypto, just watch it happen. You know, it's obviously a lot more involved than that. But of course, absolutely, if you kind of do it, you know, and you know, the stars have to align and you have to have a bit of skill set. You know, it's not just throwing all caution to the wind. It's making sure that you have a strategic way of looking at it, a strategic methodology, and then absolutely.
Was that hard to learn while you were beginning to learn how to do it, or did it just come naturally to you?
Well, I suppose my background is kind of unusual, I suppose, because my dad actually taught me how to do it.
Oh,
So even at 6 years old, I was kind
wow.
of involved in that. So um, so it did come naturally because it was just almost just part of what I did. Having said that, if a 6-year-old can understand it, it can't be that hard, right? So
One would think, but it sounds like it's literally in your blood, Heather. You are walking in your purpose by doing this.
that's it. This is where the stars all aligned. You know, there's all these little pieces that sort of fall into place where you kind of go, yeah, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
Yes, yes, seriously.
So, but I also think that I think it's easy to overcomplicate things. I think it's easy to kind of go, well, oh yes, you've got all these things and it's very, very difficult, because you know the industry wants you to think it's hard, because then you'll employ them to do it for you, right? You know, and there's all these indicators and things you can analyze it by, but I don't know how much things it adds. You know, it can just, sometimes you can over engineer things.
Yeah.
So ultimately it's not hard. And I think that especially nowadays, you know, I particularly like tech investing. And what's interesting about tech, you know, it's like just being able to sort of almost like have a window into the future and just think, well, have a vision, like how do you think life is going to be in the future?
Mm.
If you can have that kind of vision, then it becomes easier, because then it's like, well, which companies are going to get us there? And that's what investing is. It's investing in the future companies that are currently not that big, in relative terms, but then they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you kind of ride it up. So that's essentially what investing is. It's just trying to find those companies, or there's lots of different ways. I mean, there's other things as well, but from a very sort of basic point of view, that's what you're doing, is you're kind of riding these companies up and riding on their coattails, and they're doing all the work effectively. They're running the businesses, they're making the sales, they're doing these amazing things, and then we get to sort of reap the benefits from that, which is quite cool.
I love that you said earlier, excuse me, that there's a strategic method to it. And I would feel like it has to be. It's not like how you said, oh, well, you just choose that one and then, you make all this money from what they're doing over time and over the years. But just strategically wise, I feel like you have to have some kind of inner knowing too that helps, like that's guiding you to choose what to choose what you're going to ultimately choose. um do you also teach that with your clients?
So I think so. I mean, there's a kind of an aside, I guess, but it's very relevant, is that just kind of really randomly, but a good friend of mine, she split up with her husband, and then she went on to one of these dating sites, and she actually managed to start dating this guy who she's still with, who turned out to be this really famous multi-billionaire hedge fund manager. It's just like you couldn't make it up.
Wow.
So yeah, so she's sort of hit the jackpot. But what's interesting is that even she said, so he runs his own hedge fund, so he doesn't even have clients anymore. They just run it for him.
Wow.
But what's interesting is that even him on that level, so it's obviously on such a different kind of stratosphere, but even he, with his team, he will give them some ideas of companies to invest in, and they'll do all the due diligence and all the research.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, the final decision goes on what is his gut feeling about it.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't that
That's
interesting?
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So even at that level, and on, you'd think that surely not, it's like that's just the last thing he'd be thinking of. Even he is thinking on those terms. So, bringing in all of your assets,
Yes.
and that's a really important one, because that's ultimately our connection to the all-knowing, and the
Yeah.
all-knowing knows, right? So why not use that?
Yes, yes, I love that. I love that because it's so powerful. Like just listening to your gut and to your inner self will truly guide us. It's a roadmap for our lives. Intuition.
That's
Oh,
it.
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, as I have enjoyed this conversation, Heather, as we are coming to a close, I want to ask you a few questions that I ask all of my guests. How do you
Sure.
define success?
I think success is having the time and energy to live according to what you are meant to be doing, and ultimately bringing joy into your life. If you listen in and you feeling joy, then I feel that ultimately you're living a successful life.
I love that. What is your spiritual practice? Like for myself, it's meditation.
Yeah. Well, as I said earlier, I mean, I think we're definite energetic beings. So yeah, I do yoga every day and meditation, which really, really helps. I've been doing it every day for 6 months now, which has been absolutely life-changing as well. And also just I'm getting a lot into the whole vibrational thing, and listening to frequencies and healing through frequencies and all that. So yeah, lots of kind of spiritual practices.
I love that. I love that. I like when I do my meditations, I do it right in the morning. And right when the US, when we shut down, every day I would do yoga, and I kind of stopped. But I mean, for at least 6 weeks, I did it straight every day, and it made such a difference. So I can imagine for doing it for 6 months, just you feel so different within.
Yeah, physically stronger, like you
Yes.
kind of use every muscle. Spiritually, it's sort of, and there's different things because I do it outside, so I get grounded, I get the fresh air, I get the sunshine, I listen to the sound frequencies. There's like lots and lots of different levels to it. It's really powerful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What or who inspires you?
I think in terms of inspiration, I think my son actually, he's quite an amazing character. He's actually on the spectrum, but he's just like super, super intelligent, like
Yeah,
super more intelligent than I am. And just his outlook on life, he's just really positive. He's very enthusiastic about things. And yeah, I just feel like I learned so much from him just
yeah.
being around him. So
How old is he?
he's nearly 17
Okay.
this month.
All right. Well, happy birthday to him.
Thank you.
How do you define purpose?
Purpose is doing, I guess, what you are here to do, what you're made to do, and it's, I suppose, one of the purposes in life is to find your purpose, if you like. It's just looking and educating yourself and finding that quest, and making sure that you get to do that thing, because everybody's got their thing, everyone's got their talents. And um if you don't find that, it's like you haven't quite got there. It's like there's like a scratch that you can't itch. It's really important to find that thing that is uniquely yours and express it to the world. I think that's really important in as a fundamental to life.
Yeah, yeah. What has life taught you so far?
Oh gosh, life. What has life taught me so far? Well, I mean, I think wisdom. I think for me, it's all about knowledge. I mean, well, there's two things: there's knowledge, and of course the spiritual side. But I find personally, I just love learning, and
Mhm.
it lights me up. I suppose it's because it's like it nourishes me physically and spiritually. It's sort of both. I think that's what knowledge does. It just keeps me young, it keeps me alive, it keeps me pushing forward. So for me, the pursuit of knowledge is very, very exciting. Whenever I discover something new, I just get really excited, and it's like, oh my god, something new to discover. And I just jump into it and delve into it and research like crazy. Like I just really naturally just research. So to me, that is so fundamental in life, and nourishing. It's a nourishing activity.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, beautiful. Such a beautiful conversation, Heather. I truly appreciate you coming on today. Is there anything you want to share? Do you have anything coming up, and how can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose just the one last message just to share in terms of, just thinking about the economy, and everyone's very kind of worried, and there's a lot of kind of things about inflation and interest rates and things. I think that a message is that not to worry so much in terms of the economy, because that's just made up of lots and lots and lots of companies and things. So it's kind of this collective view of things, but there's always good companies and bad companies. And so there are always good ones to find. There's always possibilities. So I think just having that message is quite important. And in terms of things that are coming up, yes, I've got a new program that starts actually in a couple of weeks. The Foundation of Financial Freedom. That one is more for European time zone, but I'll do another one in November for the American time zone as well. So that's an 8-week program and takes you through all of this, all of it. So you kind of come out with a kind of a new persona, attractive to money, and also knowing a roadmap, an actual physical, practical roadmap to building a wealthy life.
Awesome. Awesome. And how can people find you?
I will give you my website, which hopefully you can share.
Yes.
It's getrawenergy.co, so raw being RAW /FFF. But if hopefully you can share it in the notes, that would be
Yes.
great.
I'll put it in the show notes. Honored to have you on Conversations with Robin as a guest. So thank you. Thank you for listening to another episode of Conversations with Robin. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe and like. Remember, every week we have new guests on our shows. Conversations that empower, inspire, and enlighten.